Welcome to today's daily live for 5 at 5. I am in the middle of an incredible day as a candidate. I just got to say here, it's going to be a whirlwind. I'm going to spin a yarn in terms of the things that happened involving glyphosate studies. But what a day it's been. I started my day at the CHCO studios. Shooting some video, which you will be able to see on TV soon. And then I went to the St. Andrew's Market because it is Thursday and met some incredible vendors there. Toured the market, got to know people, ate some food, then went and had an awesome meeting with Chief Hugh Akagi of the Passamaquoddy Scudic, and we hung out for a while. And then I went door knocking, and all this was with Green Leader David Kuhn. And so it has been a day. I just got home just in time to get in front of the camera, and then I've got to jump on my motorcycle and head to St. Andrews for another green meeting. So it has been an amazing day. Let's get back, though, to glyphosate part 4. And specifically, we want to, so many things that I've been talking about are coming down to us wanting to feel safe. Whether it's safe housing, when we need to be able to afford our houses and feel safe. We need to be able to afford food. We want to know that someone's going to pick up the phone when we call the police. We want to be able to feel safe, and the government needs to be able to provide safety in its mandates, the things that our taxpayer money is going for. And so, as we talked about yesterday, glyphosate was deemed entirely safe when it came out as a product called Roundup by the company Monsanto. And then, of course, when we left off yesterday, where in 1978, it was a Canadian Park Service said, oh, this has great potential for forestry, the Canadian Forestry Service. And so it started to be mass applied over the last number of decades. And so I do want to show you, just from an article that I found here in 2016, New Brunswick's Chief Medical Officer of Health's Action Plan on Glyphosate found that New Brunswick uses more glyphosate per hectare of harvested forest than any province in Canada, with 40% of forest land cut in New Brunswick in 2014 sprayed with glyphosate. So 40% of forest land that was cut was sprayed, compared to 28% in Ontario, 21% in Alberta, 18% in Manitoba, and 11% in Nova Scotia. The report also found that forestry accounts for 61% of all glyphosate use in New Brunswick, followed by industrial uses at 27 and agriculture at 11. I think I kind of mentioned that briefly or loosely in a couple of videos a couple days ago, but there you have the stats. Forestry is 61% of glyphosate. So, we have farmers who say, oh, our crops depend on the use of Roundup or these herbicides that have glyphosate in them. And so that's 11%. So whether or not that is healthy leaves much to be debated. If you want that on your food, perfectly safe. If you believe it's perfectly safe, fine, have at it. But 61% of all glyphosate is for forestry. Now, again, this was because glyphosate was deemed safe. Yesterday we mentioned Canada's regulatory agency for that, Pest Management Regulatory Agency. They approve all pesticide use, of course, as it says here in the description of the agency, and that has continued. That agency was founded in 1998, I believe, and has continued on. Now, there has been debate as glyphosate has been tested over the years. Is it safe? Is it not safe? And I want to introduce this debate because we're almost already at 5 minutes. I probably spent a little too much time gushing about my amazing day. But here is the reality. I'm going to read this. Canada's regulatory regime deems the pesticide safe, but its assessment does not account for the potential chronic impact of low-level exposure and does not examine forests, okay? So one thing that I read in my research was when regulatory agencies are determining the safety of glyphosate, basically it's called they will shotgun. They will basically inject glyphosate into the organism being studied. Is it a mouse? Is it a plant? And they will shotgun it, basically testing over and over with direct application to see how much application that organism can withstand before becoming sick or dying? What is the maximum? And then backing it off, right? And so that is how it has been studied in a controlled environment. Blast the organism with glyphosate, see what the maximum allowed, the harmful amount would be, and then roll it back. And again, that's what we've seen with conifers that will stand up to application much more easily, much better than deciduous leafy trees, okay? But here's where it continues. Researchers have found low-level exposure to glyphosate can impact the health of animals' gut microbiomes, potentially causing health issues. And I read into this study where basically consistent exposure to animals that are in the woods and being exposed to the glyphosate, being rained down on them from above, is actually altering, as it says here, the biomes in their digestive systems. And so that is causing, their feces to be infected, other animals that might be eating them. And of course, this is getting into the general ecosystem and the food chain. And this is, again, happening over time, again and again, multiple applications, as I showed you a couple of days ago, these areas that are being sprayed again and again over time as forestry companies want to come back to certain areas and harvest only the desirable wood. So it goes on. The chemical is also considered potentially cancer-causing by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Now, if you're up to date on the topic of glyphosate, you might immediately blow a whistle there and say, oh, the IARC study commissioned in 2015 by the World Health Organization. Oh, there were problems with that. That is a spurious study. It has got errors. It is dubious. And so we can throw that out. We can basically go back and say, oh, the studies that said it is safe are the true ones, and the IARC study is false. And that's the one that said it could potentially cause cancer. And if glyphosate is contentious to you in your mind, it's likely that you are probably going back to things you've heard about the 2015 study. That was seized upon as problematic, and that means the proponents of glyphosate were easily saying, basically, any argument against glyphosate is a house of cards because the 2015 study was problematic. I'm going to tomorrow, so this is a cliffhanger. So tomorrow I want to continue with this, as I say, this story of what has happened in terms of glyphosate research, because what we have now, where we're leaving now, is it was called safe. Then the IRC study said it's not safe. And then people came out and said, oh, that study is problematic and it's not safe. And I have the slide here for that. There we go. It is right here. In glyphosate review, the WHO Cancer Agency edited out non-carcinogenic findings. So this is what people are seizing on and saying. In 2017, somebody was basically, research came out that debunked the research of 2015. Okay, so we are going to come back to this topic tomorrow and pick up from there. But basically, let's say where we're at now is it was called safe, then it was called not safe, and then people called into question that it is unsafe, rather that it is safe, because the study that said it's unsafe was not correct, okay? This is why glyphosate is so contentious, but I would argue in 2014, it is the least contentious it's ever been, because we have lawsuits on the table and more research. So stay tuned for that as I continue to unpack this. And now I'm going to run to my meeting. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for joining me.